You didn't plan to be here. You didn't do anything wrong. You just parked on the wrong level at the wrong time. And now someone is dead, and the men who killed him already know your name. You're a night shift pharmacist. 31 years old. You work at a hospital-adjacent pharmacy in a mid-sized border city that's been growing faster than its infrastructure can handle. New hotels. New money. New clients who come in with legitimate prescriptions and ask very specific questions about dosage ceilings. You notice things. It's your training. You were taught to catch errors, a decimal in the wrong place, a contraindication nobody flagged. You read everything twice. You trust your own eyes. That habit is about to become the most dangerous thing about you. Your life is clean. You rent a 2-bedroom apartment because the second room is technically an office but mostly just where your dog sleeps. You send money home to your mother every month. You have a best friend from pharmacy school who lives 3 hours away and you text constantly and see twice a year. You don't have enemies. You've never needed to. You leave the hospital at 11:40 p.m. You take the east parking structure because construction has closed the main lot for 6 more weeks. Level 2, space 17. You come out of the elevator. There are 4 men near the stairwell exit at the far end of the structure. You register them the way you register anything, automatically, without deciding to. One man is seated on the ground, back against a pillar. His posture tells you he didn't choose to sit. His suit is expensive. His age is somewhere between 60 and 70, silver at the temples, the kind of stillness that comes from pain rather than calm. The second man crouches in front of him. He's speaking. You can't hear the words. You can see the cadence, slow, deliberate, patient, not angry, something colder than anger. The third man stands to the left, watching nothing in particular. Professional stillness. The fourth man is watching the elevator. He sees you the moment the doors open. You make eye contact for less than 2 seconds. You look away. You start walking toward your car. You don't run. Some instinct tells you running is the wrong answer. Behind you, you hear nothing. No shouting. No footsteps. Just the soft sound of something final happening. You get in your car. You drive out of the structure without looking back. You tell yourself you didn't see anything. Your hands are shaking on the wheel for 40 minutes. The call comes on day 5. You're behind the pharmacy counter. Mid-afternoon, steady traffic, ordinary Tuesday. The number is local, unrecognized. You almost let it go to voicemail. I'm sorry to call you at work, the voice says. Male, educated, unhurried, the kind of voice that belongs in a conference room. I have something that belongs to you. Your hospital badge. You must have dropped it in the parking structure last week. I'd hate for it to end up with lost and found. These things have your photograph, your credentials. Very personal. You didn't drop your badge. You know you didn't drop your badge. I thought we could meet briefly. Return it properly. There's a cafe on Delgado Street, the one with the green awning. Tomorrow, 7 a.m. I'll be at the corner table. He hangs up. You check your badge. It's clipped to your coat exactly where it always is. He doesn't have your badge. He has something else, and he wants you to come find out what. You spend the night telling yourself not to go. You go. He's already seated when you arrive. Late 40s. A face that would be completely unremarkable in any business setting. He's drinking espresso. He's wearing a grey jacket. He has the manner of someone who is never late and never hurries. He introduces himself as Mr. Callan. He slides your badge across the table. You stare at it. You were wearing it when you left the hospital that night. You checked. You know you checked. We made a copy. He says simply, we can do quite a lot with a copy. Access records, prescription trails. It's remarkable what a pharmacist's credentials open up, digitally speaking. He lets that sit for a moment. The man you saw in the parking structure was a senior figure in a private organization. His passing was necessary, internally decided. You weren't supposed to be there. We understand that. We hold no grievance. He sips his espresso, but you were there, and you have a remarkable memory. We know that about you. Pharmacy school. Top of your cohort. You notice details. We respect that. We'd simply like to make sure those details stay organized, quietly, for the foreseeable future. You ask what he wants. Occasionally, he says, a prescription needs to be filled without the usual documentation trail. Nothing harmful. Controlled substances that are legitimately prescribed, simply routed through a channel that doesn't appear in a federal database. You would see a name, fill the order, note nothing. That's all. You say no. He nods slowly, as if he expected this. He opens a folder. Inside is a photograph of your mother's house, her street, her car in the driveway. The timestamp is from yesterday. Nothing will happen, he says immediately, quietly. That is the entire point of this conversation. Nothing will happen to anyone, and you'll find the arrangement financially comfortable. We want a working relationship, not a crisis. He closes the folder. He finishes his espresso. He leaves. The first order comes 8 days later. A handwritten note slipped under your apartment door. A patient name, a compound prescription, a specific benzodiazepine formulation that exists but isn't commonly requested. A dosage that's within legal range but at the ceiling. A pickup time, 6 p.m., Thursday. You look up the patient name in the system. The name exists. The prescribing physician exists. The prescription, when you check, has already been submitted through legitimate channels. Everything is technically in order. The only thing missing is the documentation trail on your end, the internal log that records your review, your verification, your signature. You fill it, you emit the log. A man comes at 6 p.m. Young, polite. He waits appropriately. He thanks you by name. That night, $4,000 appears in a savings account you didn't open. Your name, your social security number, a credit union in a neighboring state. When you look up the institution, it's real, regulated, insured. The deposit is labeled medical consulting services. They've made you look willing before you were. For 7 months, it stays manageable. 2, sometimes 3 orders per month. Always technically legitimate. Always with plausible deniability. You begin to understand the architecture of what they're doing, not moving illegal drugs, but rerouting legal ones off the regulatory radar. Medications that end up in markets where they're sold at markup or used to manage the health of people who can't appear in any hospital system. You stop asking where they go. You start running every morning to manage the cortisol. You become a very good runner. Your best friend notices you've gone quieter on text. You tell her it's a difficult rotation. She sends you a care package with your favorite tea and a note that says you carry too much alone. You put the note in a drawer and don't respond for 4 days. Your mother asks if you're eating enough. You are not eating enough. In the 8th month, a federal compliance audit is announced at your hospital. Routine, they say. Expanded pharmaceutical oversight across 6 states. New database cross-referencing. You read the memo 3 times. You understand immediately what it means. The orders you've been filling, the omissions, they exist in a gap between your internal logs and the external prescription system. An auditor who looks at both sides simultaneously will see the gap. You call the number Mr. Callan gave you for emergencies. He answers on the 2nd ring. We're aware, he says. Don't change your behavior. Changes create patterns. Continue normally. The audit will find the gaps, you say. The auditor assigned to your facility, he says, has a complicated personal history. We're managing that separately. Continue normally. You realize then that you are not the only person they're managing. You are one thread in something much larger. And that means there is no edge to it. No wall you can find, walk to, and stop. You spend 2 weeks making a decision. You pull every document you've quietly kept, photographs of the notes, timestamps of deposits, a log you maintained in an encrypted app starting from month 2, when some part of your brain understood that records were the only leverage you'd ever have. You contact a regulatory attorney through a legal aid referral. You use a different phone. You meet in her office on a Saturday. You walk her through everything. She listens for 90 minutes without interrupting. She tells you there is a path. Federal whistleblower protections are specific but real. There is a prosecutor in the district who has been building something adjacent to what you're describing. Cooperation has value. You tell her you need to think. You walk out into the afternoon. Your phone rings before you reach your car. It's not Mr. Callan. It's the man from the parking structure, the one who was watching the elevator. You've never heard his voice before. It's quieter than you expected. The attorney you met with today is thorough, he says. We've worked around thorough before, but I want to be fair to you. You've been reliable, so I'll be direct. The documentation we have on your participation is substantial. If a federal case opens with your name on it as a cooperating witness, the documentation comes out first. You'll be processed as a co-conspirator. The cooperation credit may or may not be sufficient. That's genuinely uncertain. He pauses, or you continue. The audit resolves. In 3 months, we move your role to something with less exposure. You have our word, their word. You almost laugh. Think tonight, he says. We don't need an answer before morning. You don't sleep. You sit with your dog on the kitchen floor at 3 a.m. and you think about the silver-haired man in the parking structure and the way he looked against that pillar. Not frightened, you realize now. Resigned, like someone who had made a calculation long ago that had finally come due. You wonder when you made yours. You think about the word they used in the very beginning. Relationship. Mr. Callan used it like it was a reasonable thing. A mutual arrangement between professionals. And you think about the moment you filled the first order. You stood at the counter. You had the prescription in front of you. You had the log open on your screen. And you chose, with full awareness, not to enter your verification. Nobody forced your hands. They just made the cost of using them feel too high. why. They didn't take your choices away. They just made you afraid of them. That's what you understand now, on the kitchen floor, at 3 a.m. And understanding it doesn't undo a single thing, but it tells you exactly what the next choice has to be. You call the attorney at 7 a.m. You tell her you're ready. You tell her everything. Your license is suspended pending investigation. That takes 8 months to resolve. You spend 4 of those months unable to work in your field, living on savings, walking your dog too many times a day because it's the only structure you can control. Your best friend drives 3 hours the day the suspension is announced. She doesn't ask for an explanation. She just shows up with groceries and stays the weekend. Your mother stops asking if you're eating enough. She starts just cooking and leaving food outside your door. That's the version of grace that reaches you. You'll carry the shape of this for a long time. Not the fear. A fear fades. The shape, the knowledge of exactly when you could have stopped and didn't. You were a person who read things twice, who caught errors, who trusted their own eyes, and you saw the error in yourself and filled the order anyway. That's the thing no legal resolution touches. Somewhere right now, someone is walking to their car after a late shift. They're tired. They're thinking about tomorrow. They take an elevator to the wrong level. And somewhere, a man is already watching which way the doors open. And he is patient. And he is polite. And he already has a cafe in mind.